everybody, welcome to Cinema Trip Reviews. I'm Wyatt, this is Alex this week. We are talking about Psycho Goreman. It's a pretty underrated movie. I feel like it's not a movie a lot of people have heard of. It's on Shudder now. But I mean, it's pretty wild, man. I haven't really talked about it really too much with you because I wanted to kind of save your opinion here.
Yeah.
But the movie is directed by Steven Kostanski. He directed Leprechaun Returns, The Void, which was a pretty popular movie that was on Netflix for a while. I don't know if you saw that at all. I saw it like around when it was first put on Netflix. I don't remember too much other than like the effects were pretty good in it. Like this movie, some of the effects is pretty good. And I didn't see Manboard, but that sounds pretty crazy too.
It sounds just like this was. Like, this is destined to be like a cult movie. You knew exactly what he was making.
I can definitely see this as a cult movie and being popular like in the next 10, 20 years, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like the perfect mix between like I don't even know, like have you ever seen Harry and the Hendersons where they meet the Sasquatch? It's like a mix between like Harry and the Hendersons, Hellraiser, and Power Rangers, I feel.
Yeah, it was horror Power Rangers.
Horror Power Rangers.
Time. I just felt like it was all the villains of Power Rangers and like what they're up to when there's not Power Rangers around.
That's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
I mean, the basic premise is Psycho Goreman. I mean, they talk about the history of him. I guess he was once a like slave on a planet that got released after he found like that gem that he like he implanted into himself, and he became super powerful, and that's when he started like taking over planets and everything. He had like his own gang.
Yeah, which I didn't quite understand. I mean, just to cut it, like I didn't quite understand. Like he was like a slave, but then he enslaved people and was killing everybody. Like
I guess he was just taking it out on everybody. And then I don't even know like the name of the because they have like the team of like the universe, pretty much like the UN of the universe, kind of. I'm guessing. But they had like the head, like it's straight like a Power Rangers villain where it's like all metal, and I guess that's where they like imprisoned him inside of like this tomb, and they just threw it on a random planet, which happened to be Earth.
Shocker.
Yeah, and I mean that just cuts to the kids that we see for pretty much the whole movie. A lot of people were kind of annoyed by the girl. I was annoyed by the girl most parts. She was pretty excessive, but I thought she did her part. I thought it was good. But
the worst part of the film for me was that little. Oh, I hated her.
I didn't mind it for most of the movie, but there was points where I'm like, okay, come on, it's a little too much.
I needed her to get her up and comings at one point. She never did in the film, and I wanted it.
Yeah,
to happen.
She never really did.
Yeah,
she needed to get her turn out fine for her.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're playing the game that they invented that we'll eventually see later in the movie, and the punishment was like she was gonna bury her older brother alive, and that's where they find this tomb, the gem that she holds, and it opens the tomb, which releases Psycho Goreman, and he just goes on like a murdering spree in that warehouse. Where we get to see some pretty cool kills. The one dude, he just like, I don't know, puts him in limbo, and his eyes are just like rolling back in his head like continuously. It's pretty wild, man. A lot of the effects are crazy in this movie.
The effects were good. Good practical effects. You can tell a lot,
especially like for an indie movie like this, it's pretty surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids end up running in and meeting Psycho Goreman eventually. One of the funny parts I thought was when the brother like bumped into that dude that he like turned. And he like falls over and his whole head smashes open. But he can't kill these kids because they're holding that gem that they found, like that was attached to the tomb that he was in. So pretty much he can only obey who's the holder of like this crystal or gem. So that's pretty much the setup for the movie. You know, he's just traveling with these kids this whole time, getting into crazy adventures, and then like, you know, that UN of aliens that oversee the universe, I guess. They're pretty much trying to figure out how to stop him in some way.
They want that gem back, which why did they bury it with in the first place?
Right.
Like, just keep it next time. But what'd you think of it? I mean, and you're right. That's pretty much the story. It's pretty simple. Just like Harry and the Hendersons were great. Like kids find mythical thing,
Yeah.
wacky adventures ensue.
It's a great mix of that. Like, it's just like an adult 90s movie where like they meet up with some kind of monster or whatever. It's called, you see it in like Monster Squad too. I don't know if you ever saw Monster Squad,
Love
where they
Monster
meet
Squad.
up with the Frankenstein, and the Frankenstein's friends with the little girl.
Wolfman's got nards, man. Love
The
Monster
Wolfman's
Squad.
got nards. But I mean, I remember like when you watched it, 'cause you watched it before I did. You kind of gave off the impression you didn't really like it that much.
I wanted more, to be honest with you. I thought the effects were awesome. I thought the story was fine. Everything was fine. Telling you that girl Mimi took it completely, and the dad's a shithead too the entire time.
Yeah.
And I just wanted them not just to get their up and comings, but the only character that I liked was the brother, and I felt like he never got anything either. Like there wasn't a satisfying conclusion for me. I didn't dislike it.
I didn't understand why the little sister was bossing around the big brother like the whole time. I was like, why is this happening?
Yeah, man.
But the dad was like pretty much a piece of shit.
Just a shit,
but dude, he had some of the funniest moments. Like one of my favorite lines was like kind of towards the beginning where they were like, "We're worried about monsters or whatever." He's like, "Do you think monsters are real?" And he's like, "The monsters are the people themselves or whatever." I forget the quote. He's like, "The the real monsters are us as a people." And I'm like, damn. He's like dropping knowledge on this kid.
My favorite scene was also with the dad. It's when right after Psycho Goreman's hurt near the end, and he's in the bathroom and they start screaming at him. He's like, oh.
He's just sitting there, and then his like head just pops up and like through a void and just screaming at him like, "You gotta come out, help us, go to this," like, and like the whole time. That? Yeah, the head disappears, and then he starts doing something else, and the head just pops back up and starts yelling at him again. He falls in the bathtub. Yeah, that had me dying. But I mean, overall, I really liked the movie. I was entertained the whole way through, and I thought it was pretty funny, man. I didn't mind the girl as much as you. Yeah. But there was parts of it where I was like, okay, this is a little excessive. Like they a little overdid it there.
I mean, my favorite thing was, again, just the characters, the creatures, that UN of creatures. Even when they turned that boy into like the brain, which was super weird subplot, but like even he was fun to look at.
They don't really touch on much.
Oh, I like that they turned him into it, and then it never comes up again. He's just like a brain kid for the rest of the movie. He's just like playing games with them, still hanging out with her. I liked that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I like all the creature effects were so like, because they weren't trying to be super realistic. They were like, okay, this is like very Power Rangers corny. Like specifically, I remember the one that's at the table of like all the creatures, and he has like the glass jar with the brain with the eyeballs on it. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it looks like something like out of frickin' Power Rangers. Like, I mean, that's what we're gonna keep comparing this to. Like, it's the villains of Power Rangers.
Yeah, and the one I think it was like the skeleton or like the one that had like the metal jaw, and like the main villain pretty much is going after Psycho Goreman. Like they bring a human in because she's gonna disguise as a human to go onto Earth, and then she like crushes this human up into like a tiny cube, and then like smashes it and starts eating it. And then, like, the other monster, you just see its jaw just drop.
I liked the monsters that, like, were Psycho Goreman's posse or whatever, and they came and fought him.
Yeah, that was another point. And, it, like, we'll get to that, but, like, what leads up to that is they try to take him out in public. And it was, like, it reminded me of, like, I watched Ninja Turtles this past weekend. And Raphael dresses up in just that trench coat and the hat and goes to a movie and like doesn't get recognized that he's a turtle. But they have like Psycho Goreman out there dressed like Alan Grant from Jurassic Park with the blue shirt and like the red handkerchief and the hat and the sunglasses. And then like the cops called on him, and he ends up like turning this one cop into like a zombie henchman pretty much, and he looks so grotesque, and his like guns morph to his hand. And, like, the whole time he's with them, he keeps, like, trying to kill himself. Yeah. And my favorite part, he, like, hands the girl, like, a heart, like a Valentine. And she opens it up, and it just says, "Kill me in blood." Please kill me. And, oh, my gosh. Like, it's great. And that's where it leads up to Psycho Goreman's, like, old posse that he used to run with. Like, they they run into him and they're like, all right, we're here to kill you. Things were better off without
Yeah,
you.
we betrayed you. It's all
Yeah.
good.
And then, like, they're whooping his ass for a while, and then, like, the girl lets him because she finds out that he was planning on killing him and killing, like, the Earth, pretty much. And then she just lets him, like, do his thing, and he ends up, like, murdering all of these, like, cartoons, and it's straight out of the Power Rangers.
That was the most Power Rangers.
Most Power Rangers part, because every
Yeah.
time he, like, hits one of them, sparks are flying everywhere.
I like the witch doctors. The head gets away.
Yeah, and
like,
it has, like,
"Ow."
those big bug eyes.
And it's like, we'll survive again, and then it gets run over.
They run over it later. My favorite was, like, that weird big tank full of, like, body parts, and it just shoots blood out or whatever, and he just punches a hole in the tank, and it's just like, oh no. Oh man. But then he's like, the warrior's, like, way of, like, an honorable death is eating the victim, and he just, like, opens up his whole jaw like an anaconda and, like, swallows them whole.
Looking like Jeepers Creepers, like with
it does. It really does. But yeah, man, it was a great movie. I thought it was very entertaining. I can't recommend it enough. I don't know about you.
I'm not on great. I would recommend it. It is good. If you're definitely like a cinema, like, cult classic kind of horror film, I think it was good. If you're looking for any kind of seriousness, though, this is not it.
Yeah, and I think the intentions, like, for it to be like a B movie. That's why, like, it was released on Shudder and straight to DVD. But I feel like the quality is there where it's I think it's above B movie level. Like, I think the quality is
the effects,
the effects and everything. I mean, the story and dialogue is meh, but the jokes, when they hit pretty funny. Like, they hit pretty hard. Like, the Hunky Boys magazine that they give Psycho Goreman, and he's like, oh, you don't like Hunky Boys? He's like, no, I hate Hunky Boys. And then he, like, looks at the magazine, he's like, or do I?
See, and I'm with you. Again, the only thing about the jokes is the majority of the film you spend with Mimi, who's the little girl, and she is awful to me.
She's so extra.
Like, so extra, so awful. She never gets her up and comings.
Yeah.
And it really brought the film down for me. The girl and the dialogue were the worst part for me, unfortunately. But everything else, I'm with you. Funny. Yeah. A lot of the jokes. The TV was funny when he starts, like, bleeding and the dad comes in and starts making the TV bleed. I think,
dude, that TV bleeds like the whole movie. Whenever they like, the whole movie, it's just bleeding. He's like, there's something wrong with your TV.
There's something wrong with your TV.
But I thought, like, as most of these movies, the ending is a little bit to be desired. Like, there could have been more, I feel. But I mean, they end up going back to that made up game that the kids made up, like, from the beginning of the movie, and that's how, like, they pretty much battle the the person that's after Psycho Goreman. And then they end up fighting anyway, and he uses, like, a sword of body parts from victims. Which is pretty cool. But I mean, at the end, he pretty much promises, like, hey, I won't destroy you, but I'll destroy, like, everybody else and all these other planets.
It just walks away.
And he just walks away, and it just, like, you see I think it was on TV or something.
Yeah, it's on the news.
He's huge in the middle of a city, just, like, destroying things.
See, I actually thought it was a missed opportunity when I saw him huge, and it reminded me, I was like, man, for the ending fight, they should have both went big. It could have went full Power Rangers, full Megazord versus fucking Psycho Goreman.
I agree. Like, they could have did something, and they could have used, like, did it like the old Godzilla movies where they just make up, like, a fake town around them and they're just in these suits.
Do it like Power Rangers. Like, it was just fake little shit, you know?
Yeah, and then they could just use stuff in the environment as weapons if they need to or whatever.
That would have been good. It felt like the last fight scene, they ran out of budget. It was like, oh, here's a warehouse. Just fighting this warehouse.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird. They, like, the main bad turned the mom into, like, a henchman, I guess, to help her fight. But it was very weird. It was very weird.
It is funny when the dad breaks his hand, though, and he's like,
where he goes to high five Psycho Goreman, and his wrist just snaps.
And then in the end, he's like, I think we need to go. She's like, shut up, whatever his name is.
Yeah, man, I was very surprised, because I mean, Quentin, if people watch the program, all of our shows, they know Quentin. he's the one that, like, before this even came out, sent me the trailer. He's like, looking forward to this. So I kind of knew about it. I just didn't really like pay attention to it. So I mean, I went into it pretty blind, and I was pleasantly surprised. This is probably one I'm gonna go back and watch again.
I have actually been following this for a good long while. I mean, not that like I was like any part of the Kickstarter or anything like that, but like I've known this is coming out probably since the first trailer. I watched it too, and I was like, all right, that looks right up my alley. That looks like something. So I wasn't disappointed. I wasn't blown away, but I wasn't disappointed. It was a good film.
I don't think it was anything groundbreaking, but I think it's very refreshing, and it's kind of like nostalgic in a way, because it kind of uses a lot of stuff from like our childhood, like the Power Rangers stuff, and it's very kind of old school in some ways. But man,
I think they could have just leaned heavier into that. That's what they should have went straight horror Power Rangers and I'd have been fine with it.
Yeah,
just lean heavier.
I mean, who knows? Maybe there'll be like a Psycho Goreman 2 where they can really get into some crazy stuff.
I would watch it. I'd be there.
I definitely would watch it. Now, like on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate the movie if you had to?
I'd probably give it like a 7.4. That was pretty good.
7.4?
Yeah.
That's a fair score. I'll give it a 7.5, since I liked it. I seem like I liked it a little bit better than you, a little bit more than you. So I mean, I'll give it 7.5, 1 point more. But I would highly recommend it.
I'd recommend it too. I mean, you get past that, just that main character is and I mean the dad's shitty, but the dad's more of a joke shitty. The main character's not more of a joke shitty.
Yeah, there was like a thing about like they called him lazy, and he took it like he's like, nobody calls me lazy or whatever. And he's like, you think I'm lazy?
He was a shithead though.
He was.
Like he was went to bury that hole, and he was like, my hand.
He like made the wife and kids do it.
Well, the kids should have did it.
Yeah, they wasn't made it.
Anyway. I'd have made my kids do it.
Right, you've been out all night fixing that hole.
Yeah, you better put that hole back. But yeah, I thought it was pretty. 7.4, 7.5. I think that's right where it is. Nothing groundbreaking. I've seen nostalgia horror done better recently. Like, and I don't want to get too far into it, but you see on Shudder they brought back Tales from the Darkness, which I think is very B flicky horror.
Yeah,
done better.
Yeah, I agree. I think what really like stuck out to me was not only was it just like a B flick horror, but it was also like it was a horror comedy also, and that's what stuck out to me too, because there's really not too many horror comedies that can pull it off, you know. I mean, there's only like the major ones like Evil Dead 2 or like Shaun of the Dead, you know, or like maybe Zombieland if you want to put that up in there. Zombieland I thought was pretty good, but
I think this leans heavy into it's good.
It's good. And that's pretty much the gist of our review here is it's pretty good. It's
good. Great effects. Fantastic effects.
Yeah, watch it for the effects alone.
Exactly. If you're an effects fan, cool. They got great fun character design, great effects. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. I don't know about you, Alex.
I'm good, man.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. We'll definitely have to watch some more some movies and do some more reviews here. Until then, make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to go watch all of our other content on the channel, and we'll see everybody next time.